Counting how many plants that you take per day.
I do. I mean, so again, it depends. So I see a huge variety of patients. So I kind of gauge whether they are happy to listen to my lectures on having plants. So I do say, because there is, I think, some evidence to show that if you have 30 varieties of plant in a week, I think it's good for you. So you need to aim for 30 different kinds of
Per week, correct.
per week, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So I do tell them, like I said, I gauge.
Huh.
Yeah, because I can't, if I take so much of plant-based lectures to my patients, they might just say,
They will say, let's say bye-bye.
yes.
So from a gut perspective, we teach 5 to 6 plant points per day.
Okay.
Nuts, seeds, vegetables and fruits. It could be anything, but you cannot repeat the same thing.
Oh, okay.
That's what I tell my patients. But even if you repeat
That's
the same
very
thing.
interesting.
Because if you have 2 apples, it's still counted as 1.
Yeah. Okay.
But let's say you have 2 pumpkin seed and 2, let's say some other seed. Sunflower seeds. Then it is counted as 2.
Right.
So many people, vegetarians, are easy to get the plant points. But I'm telling you, if you're a non-vegetarian, it is very difficult.
Yeah, because they don't think about vegetables
Correct.
at all. They find it boring.
Whatever we have discussed so far is purely medical based.
Yes, it's purely medical.
We're not talking about, we're not a vegan activist.
No.
We are just saying there is evidence to show
Yeah.
that more plants actually decreases the risk of non-communicable diseases.
Yes.
So we're not saying don't say no to animals completely. If you're really concerned, minimize the animal usage. Is what you're saying.
Yeah, minimize the animal product because there's enough evidence to show that having more plant products will benefit you.
I'm going to get a practical question. When you say this to your patient, what is the first response that they say?
Actually, I think most of my patients are conducive to listening to me on this.
Why don't you come to US? They are okay with it?
They are okay with it.
I mean, they will say yes to you in the office room and then will they follow?
No, so most of them do follow because a lot of them do see the benefit. In terms of their sugars, they see that it's coming down.
I see.
They can see that. So I see a lot of gestational diabetes also. So there are people who are constantly checking and control and seeing. And they can make out the difference about when they eat something, how it spikes and how it is under control. In fact, so this was a patient of many years back, an elderly lady who was having...
like 60, 70?
She was 70.
70.
About 70. So she had diabetes. Apart from that, she also had arthritis and hypertension and all. And her sugars were something that were bothering her. It was really high and she was on insulin. So I did suggest use a CGM or to see how your sugars are. Yeah, the continuous glucose monitor. And very sweetly, when the next review she came, she said, now I understand. You said not to have rava. Now I understand because when I had rava upma in the night, 300 poidithu doctor, she's telling me.
Went up to 300.
Went up to 300. And she said, that's why you said not to have. So once she realized it, she modified her diet herself because she had that insight of what happens to her sugars when she eats a certain thing. So I think that is also important when they realize it themselves. So again, one of the things about lifestyle medicine is the onus is actually more on the patient.
On the patient, yes.
Because they have to make the changes.
Correct.
I'm there to help them, guide them, tell them what they need to do.
Correct.
But they need to make the changes to see the difference.
Meal frequency is a concern, or you don't focus that much upon how many times that you should eat a day?
I tell them not to eat very frequently. I mean, it's because there are some people, so this whole 3 meals, 2 snacks a day really baffles me. I don't understand how one would eat so much. I feel now
3 meals and 2 snacks a day is not recommended.
I don't think so. I think it's a bit much.
Why?
I think we need to give some time to the stomach to rest. Gastric emptying time is 3 hours. So you need to at least give 3 hours for your tummy to be empty before you start filling it up again. Also, I believe that you must eat when you're hungry. Having said that, nowadays, satiety signals, hunger, everything is, I think, gone out of the window because there are so many things happening. People are distracted. I don't think we're listening to our body too much. We're just eating maybe time-based or based on the fact that everybody's eating, so we also eat. I don't know. I do feel that we do eat a bit too much. Yes.
No, of course I agree. I don't think 3 meals a day should be there. We are storing too much calories, and a person can live without food for 72 days.
Yeah.
In this context, without anything, because we have so much amount of fat to be burned. But when I tell this to my patients, what they are saying is that, breakfast is around like 8, 9. Most of the time, they're not hungry.
Yeah.
Most of the time, they're not hungry at all. So the first thing I say is, eat while you're hungry. So the first thing that goes off is breakfast. Usually, most of the times. And they start feeling hungrier around like 12, 1. And they eat quite a lot, usually, my patients, before any change. And then around 3, 4 p.m., there is this constant Indian culture of an evening snack.
Yes.
I mean, not only Indian culture, everybody pretty much. But Indian culture is a little bit on the worst side, where the snack itself is a
meal in itself.
It's a meal in itself. Don't you think so?
Absolutely.
Have you seen Adyar Anand Bhavan mini tiffin?
Yes.
Nothing is there in mini.
Everything is mega only.
Mega, and it is the size of a whole meal.
Yes.
That concept is what is problematic thing.
And
then by the time they have the snack around 4, the dinner is also pretty heavy.
Yeah.
And we know that, you always have to be light on
the dinner.
On your dinner part.
Yes. Also early. I think people also tend to eat very late.
Thank you. Thank you. I've been promoting eating dinner at 7 p.m. for everybody. But the biggest question I get is, you are in the US. You can say whatever you want. If you are in India and I am coming back from work only at 8:30 p.m., how will I even eat at 7 p.m.? You should answer the question.
Okay, so I'm going to give a personal example here. When I was pregnant with my second child, I used to do evening OP and I used to come back home by around 8:39. So I would take a packed dinner and I would eat. I would take a break for about 15-20 minutes and I would have my dinner at 7 o'clock because that was dinner time.
You do?
Okay. I did that. Now, of course, I don't work late in the evening, so I'm done. So I have my dinner. My dinner is done by 6:30.
6:30.
Yeah. So I generally don't eat beyond.
So when you pack and when you go, you take lunch as well? I mean, this is the question that they asked me. So do you want me to pack lunch and dinner together?
Yeah, I think that becomes a logistical problem. I guess we'll have to figure that one out. But we'll have to see what will work, or, maybe get somebody to deliver, or I don't know. That's why I think the culture at the workplace also becomes very important, because we have to promote, food has to be healthy food has to be available. It cannot be the onus only on the individual.
The individual alone.
The food environment also needs to change a little bit. So if you see our office canteens or college canteens, they're full of only unhealthy stuff.
Hospital canteens.